Hey folks, Cool18 here, and welcome to another video on Warlock 2. There's a webcam here because we're doing subscriber Saturday live streams today, but I realized that in my Warlock 2 video, I did not do a very good job of showing off the different game creation modes, because when you go into single player and you go new game, and it defaults to this Exiled mode, which is that sort of story where your wizard dude has been exiled from the main world or whatever, and now you're in this, like, these shattered plains, right, where everything's this sort of, like, individual little tiny island world. And each one has a special flavor, you know, the desert one, the undead one, this to that. But there are all these like micro maps that are connected through portals. That's the Exiled mode. In Sandbox mode, it's a much more conventional kind of gaming experience. You'll notice it does have one fewer victory conditions because the defeat the United one is the specific Exiled mode sort of storyline thing. Sandbox mode, we can go here, and there's quite a few more world options. Again, let me go back to Exiled mode, show you the world options there. We just get small, medium, large, extra large, and then we get to choose how many opponents we're facing, up to 5, and that's it. But Sandbox mode, go here. Now we've got more options because we've got 4 different land types. Great Land, Supercontinent, Continents, and Islands. Now, I think that a supercontinent is basically like the entire map is all land other than lakes, right? It's one big square land map. Whereas supercontinent, I think, is one giant continent in the middle of an ocean. So you could do naval stuff on the shores, for example. That was always a problem in Exiled mode. You could have a city on a shore and build ships. But there didn't seem to be much point to it because these were tiny little lakes, and best case scenario, you might be able to use those ships to attack like a city on the other side of the lake, but you could also just build ground troops. So by going supercontinent, there's an incentive to use a navy in that you'll have a coast. And of course, even more of an incentive on a continents type map because you'll have to go from one continent to another. And I really enjoyed playing this a lot. This was sort of the standard kind of map shape, I think, in something like Master of Magic, which I played a lot of. And that was always fun because you could build navies to transport your troops around, or you could just, if you had the right set of spells, you could just enchant your troops with the ability to fly, and then you could cross continents whenever you wanted, or you could just play a race that had innate flying built in. I don't know how many of those things are an option in Warlock, but it makes it pretty interesting. And then the final map is Islands. Now, in addition to that, we still have small, medium, large, and extra large as an option. And that affects how many rival great mages you can have. Now, on extra large, on the Great Land or continents, there we go. We can go up to all the way up to 8 opponents on either one of those. On continents as well. On islands, we're capped at 5 because even though you go with an extra large map, because so much of it is ocean, they're like, well, we can't fit quite that many people in there. But we could go continents, extra large, 8 opponents. Not only that, you get to choose how many additional worlds are there. So again, if you're a veteran of something like Master of Magic or, well, Master of Magic literally had another plane of existence, right? Like it had another plane called Mirror, or Mirror. And there were towers scattered throughout the land that if you went there, you could shift from one plane to another. You could also use a plane shift spell to take a whole stack of units and transport it to the other plane. And you could also enchant a unit with plane shifting so it could move back and forth at will. And it was very cool. There's 2 parallel worlds to explore. They weren't truly parallel, like the continents and everything were all different on the other one. And so in here, you can go all the way up to 6 of those. Some other games like Age of Wonders and I think Heroes of Might and Magic had like an underworld that you could do. So there's still a parallel there. But so you could have an extra large, or a huge map, extra large map, 6 alternate planes of existence to explore. This would be a gargantuan thing to play through, just immense. You also have the option of choosing whether you want a flat world or a cylindrical world. So in both of these maps, it's not spherical. So north and south, you can't go further north than the North Pole kind of thing on this map. But in a cylindrical world, if you keep going east, eventually you'll wrap all the way around to your starting point. Whereas in a flat world, there is a right border. There's an edge on the right and left. Cylindrical world is what you'd be used to if you've played, Civilization, for example, or most games will have cylindrical worlds. Although, something like Heroes of Might and Magic and Age of Wonders exist on like a specific map. Like it's not meant to imply that you're taking over the whole world. There's just an area you're sort of fighting over. And so in there, a flat world would make more sense. In fact, a Great Land flat world would really have that kind of sense of like, this is just an area of the world that you're fighting over, as opposed to a whole globe. And, they both lead to interesting and different gameplay and just a different sense of whatever. So there you have it. A lot more map construction options than than you would think if you've only played the Exiled mode. Again, the Exiled mode is great for storyline purposes, but this is like cool stuff. And that's it. I just want to do a quick video demonstrating that I could start a game and just show the environments, but I mean, unless you spend the time exploring the whole world, it's not really gonna show. So I'll just load up to say, what did I pick? Great World, I think. But it'll be one of the things that will be definitely there is we won't be on a world with like a specific type of atmosphere. You can see here the 6 other worlds here just arranged in an arc. And so we'd have to find portals to go there and then, you know, colonize and fight and whatever. And one thing I'm not sure about is if the other great mages will start on some of the other planes, because that was one of the things that could happen in Master of Magic. There was a trait you could pick at the start of the game that would make you start on the plane of Myra. I think it's Myra because it's M-Y. Anyway, you could start on that plane. And what was cool about that is you were generally more isolated. And also you had access to different races. You had, instead of normal elves, you could do dark elves, and you could do trolls, and you could do a few things like that. And there were very powerful races. On the other side is most of the monsters on that other plane were more powerful, so things were more dangerous that way. But it was very cool. Anyway, you can see here, this looks like a very normal, like we're not on a whacked out plane, which is what happens in the Exiled mode, right? You're in a specifically themed plane of existence that is weird. Here, you're just in a normal world. You've got plains and hills and forests and jungle and all that, and, well, more pumpkins. But this, you know, much more conventional sort of like Civ 5, but fantasy kind of thing. Anyway, if anyone's got any questions about Warlock 2, I'd be happy to answer a few. Keep in mind, because this is still like very pre-releasey, I'm not going to make any judgment calls. Nothing sort of that you would hear in a review, for example. But if anyone wants me to click on anything or whatever, just let me know. Other than that, we will move on to the next portion of our live stream. Yeah, on March 20th, you can pre-order. And I believe April 10th is when the game actually comes out. And I don't know. Do we know the pricing information? I feel like we should. It's not on Steam yet. The developer for this is Inoco. The publisher, though, is Paradox Interactive. And Paradox is certainly, like, I really feel like there's been a lot of like back and forth about just sort of quality control and everything in this game. Yeah, their actual webpage still says release date of spring 2014. But it's supposed to be April 10th. And yeah, I think that's all. I don't think I know of any price for it yet. Judgment, let's go. Just checking. Sorry for everyone watching on YouTube at this point. I'm just reading the chat to see if anyone's got anything that I'm probably missing something, honestly. All right, looks like the conversations are about other things. So, we are going to end this, and we're going to flip over to our next game. See you next time, people on YouTube.